On the morning of the 24th of February 2022, the world woke up to the devastating news of a Russian attack on Ukraine. Many countries anticipated the invasion for weeks. Forbes posted an article on the 13th of February about why a Russian attack on Ukraine is imminent. So, on Thursday, the unprovoked attack began when Russian forces entered Ukraine from various directions. The primary target of the invasion is the country's capital, Kyiv. Russia is using armed soldiers, airstrikes, and shelling to get hold of Ukraine forcefully. It is reported that dozens of troops from both sides have been killed during the fighting. Not only that, but some Ukrainian civilians have also lost their lives. Many Western leaders have been criticizing Putin's decision to wage war on Ukraine. You may also be wondering about this forceful invasion, so let's take a closer look at how Russia is justifying attacking Ukraine. Number 1. Self-defense against NATO expansion. NATO is a military and political alliance that started back in 1949. It contains around 30 countries, including the US, the UK, Canada, France, and other European nations. The top feature of this alliance is that any European country can join it if it meets the criteria. Recently, NATO has also reported that Ukraine is considered an aspiring member of the alliance. The vital thing you must note is that Ukraine has been trying to get into NATO since 2021. Last year, the Ukrainian president urged the US leader Joe Biden to allow Ukraine to enter NATO. This took place in January, after which the Russian government was angered. Besides that, Russia also sent troops near Ukraine's border in the spring using training exercises as an excuse. After that, Putin increased the number of soldiers near the border in autumn. Because of this, the US has been hyping the news of a possible attack on Ukraine since December. Unfortunately, the invasion became a reality on Thursday. The statement and the eastward expansion by NATO are causing Russia to be concerned. Putin is criticizing the alliance for considering nations on the Russian border as aspiring members. He also believes that this expansion is a threat to the prosperity of Russia. After the attack on Thursday morning, Putin gave a speech to justify his actions and break the news. During the conference, he stated that Russia's attack should be considered self-defense against NATO's expansion. However, you should note that NATO has stated that its alliance with the other nations is defensive. It has also been said that expansion does not threaten Russia. Of course, Vladimir Putin refuses to believe this and is using concerns about NATO as an excuse to invade Ukraine. Number 2. Alleged genocide claims. The Russian invasion of Ukraine was expected for weeks because of various reasons. One of the top reasons is that Russia claims Ukraine is committing genocide. Putin revealed this accusation earlier this month by stating that ethnic Russians in the country are suffering from genocide. Putin also pointed out that the genocide is being committed by the Donbas region. However, you must note that Kremlin-backed rebels have been acting against the Ukrainian troops in this area since 2014. This is why many people are considering the genocide claims to be false. Moreover, Russia has not provided any evidence to support this accusation. This is why the genocide claims are only hearsay for now and do not hold much significance. Putin also called the Ukrainian government a Nazi regime and revealing the alleged genocide news this month.
Мною принято решение о проведении специальной военной операции. Ее цель – защита людей, которые на протяжении 8 лет подвергаются издевательствам, геноциду со стороны киевского режима. И для этого мы будем стремиться к демилитаризации и денацификации Украины, а также преданию суду тех, кто совершил многочисленные кровавые преступления против мирных жителей, в том числе и граждан Российской Федерации.
Besides that, Vladimir Putin also recognized Luhansk and Donetsk regions in Ukraine as independent states on Monday, 3 days before the attack. You should note that both these places are located in the Donbas region. Furthermore, Putin gave orders to Russian troops to initiate a peacekeeping operation in this area. Of course, most countries and civilians see this action as an excuse to begin the unprovoked war.
He has since announced that he will place Russian troops in these regions. He calls them peacekeepers. This is nonsense. We know what they really are.
During the speech on Thursday, Putin said that he wants to do a de-Nazification of Ukraine. The reason behind this comment is that Ukraine's president is Jewish. Number 3, Putin does not consider Ukraine as a country. Recently, Putin has been conducting many conferences and speeches to justify attacking Ukraine. On Monday, he stated in a speech that he does not consider Ukraine as a real country. The Russian leader said Ukraine has never had an authentic and sustainable statehood. Besides that, Putin also claimed that Ukraine was created by Soviet Union's leader Vladimir Lenin. However, you should note that the country's history and culture date back before the Soviet Union came into being. This is why the claim of Ukraine being a part of Russia is baseless. Of course, Vladimir Putin considers it the opposite. In the speech on Monday, Putin emphasized that Ukraine is more than a neighboring country to Russia. He said that it is an essential part of their culture and history. So the government believes that they have the right to capture Ukraine and make it a part of Russia again. Another thing you should keep in mind is that Putin has stated that Russia gave Ukraine the right to separate. However, you must note that this is an incorrect statement. This is because the Ukrainian civilians voted for independence in a referendum in 1991. The Washington Post has reported that 84% of voters visited the polls that day. After that, the results showed that 90% of people want independence, and this is how the country achieved its freedom. Ukraine has had ties with Russia in the past, but they were completely severed in 2014. You should remember that this is not the first time Russia has attacked Ukraine. An invasion happened in 2014, and the country invaded Crimea back then. After that, the conflicts between the two nations have increased with time. Once again, Russia is trying to invade Ukraine, but this time with more persistence. Only time will tell whether Putin will win this war or not. After all, the Ukrainians are resisting the attack, and the country will not go down without a fight. Number 4. Concerns over nuclear weapons. The key thing you should note about this invasion is that Russia is using many superficial reasons to attack claims. So far, all the points that Putin has emphasized have no basis. Not only that, but many of them are also not backed by evidence. Similarly, the fourth reason that Putin has given is considered outrageous and dubious. After the fall of the Soviet Union, Ukraine gave up on its nuclear weapons to get security from different nations. The country took this move to be on the safe side of the US, the UK, and Russia. Since then, there have been no reports of new nuclear weapons being prepared by Ukraine. However, Putin has claimed concern over the nuclear weapons of Ukraine. The Russian leader has stated that Ukraine continues to have knowledge of getting nuclear weapons. Not only that, but he also said the country has a desire to obtain weapons. Because of this, Ukraine is posing a threat to Moscow. Of course, there is no evidence that Ukraine is trying to get nuclear weapons to attack Russia. The New York Times also reported that Putin is making up false conspiracy theories to use the weapons to justify the invasion. However, people worldwide are not as oblivious as Russia makes them out to be. This is why many, including some Russian citizens, are calling out Putin for using excuses. Because of this, many anti-invasion protesters have been arrested in Russia. On Tuesday, Putin said that if Ukraine obtains weapons, his country will suffer from great destruction. In that speech, he also stated that the Russian government has to act now to avert the danger. Besides that, Putin also accused Western leaders of helping Ukraine get nuclear weapons. The US leaders responded by saying that they had no plans of arming Ukraine. NATO has also stated that it is not helping Ukraine to get nuclear weapons. Meanwhile, the country has shown no signs of restoring its nuclear power over the years. This is why this reason is nothing but a lousy excuse by the Russian government. Number 5. Restoration of the Soviet Union. Before diving into the specifics of this reason, you must note that this cause has not been said outright by the Russian government. Currently, it is speculation by various nations across the world. Of course, the reason has substantial backing of evidence. This is why you should consider all the details thoroughly. Once the news of the Russian invasion broke, Biden did a conference where he made some compelling points. The US president stated in concise words that Putin has larger ambitions at hand. He also said the Russian leader wanted to restore the Soviet Union for greater control. It is no secret that the country had power over various nations during the Cold War. Besides that, the US ambassador to the UN also made similar arguments earlier this week. She stated that Putin wants to return to the old days of the Russian Empire preceding the Soviet Union days. Ambassador Lyndon Thomas also said the Russian leader wants to time travel to a period where empires ruled the world.
To a time before the United Nations, to a time when empires ruled the world. But the rest of the world has moved forward. It is not 1919.
However, she made a compelling argument that the world has progressed and moved on. Indeed, she is right that this is the 2022 era, not the 1919 period. Of course, the Russian leader has not stated this reason in any of his speeches to date. This is why the fifth reason is considered speculation by many people. However, we would be lying if we said that there is no truth to these statements. Currently, Russia is proceeding with the invasion as planned and moving towards Kiev. Putin also blocked Facebook access in the country to limit news on social media. Meanwhile, the Ukrainian president has said that he will fight till the end for his people's right to exist and live.
Но если на нас будут наступать войска, если у нас попытаются отнять нашу страну, нашу свободу, наши жизни, жизни наших детей, мы будем защищаться. Не наступать, защищаться. Наступая, вы будете видеть наши лица. Не наши спины, наши лица.
200 civilians have been killed so far, and 3 of them were children. Meanwhile, 100,000 citizens have fled the country. The battle is ongoing, but Russia is striking Ukraine from the land, sea, and air. This was your complete update on the 5 reasons why Russia is attacking Ukraine. For more news, please subscribe to our channel.